everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm doing something a bit different from my normal art vlogs as I just finished GCSE Art a few months ago. So I thought it would be fun to show you guys the coursework and final pieces I did starting from year 9 up till year 11 including the grades I got. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first project I got to do is sea life. For this topic, we jump on straight to observational studies as we didn't do any artist research. So here you can see I just drew a bunch of fishes, jellyfishes, and seahorses on this page while using mostly graphite pencils and not really knowing how to shade properly. Now moving on to the next page. It's still an observational page, but I think the drawings on this page are much better than the other one as I think I finally learned how to blend some coloring pencils. And I also did a digital art of a fish as one of my first digital drawings. I think it turned out alright. Now moving on to the development page. I cannot express how much I love doing the drawings on this page because these are like the draws for the bowl that we're making as a final piece, which you'll see after this page. And I have to say, none of these became the final clay sculpture. So this is the sea life bowl sculpture I made. I never got it back from the school, so here are the photos I took when I was making it. It's so sad I never got it back because it actually looks decent as one of the first clay works I did. And that's all I did for the sea life project. It doesn't have as much content as the following projects, so now we're moving on to the next project. Now moving on to landscapes, I just have to say that this project is my least favorite out of all as you'll see why later. Starting off with the artist page, we did Monet and Erin Hansen. As you can see, using watercolors and acrylics are not my strongest medium to use when it comes to art. Now moving on to my observational drawings. I'm saying right now, this page is one of my least favorite sheets in this project as the acrylic paintings look so bad, but I promise that they got better in the following sheets. What I do like about it though is the colored pencil drawing, and literally that's it. Now moving on to the second observational sheet. This page is definitely better than the other one, I must say. I did multiple drawings using, of course, multiple mediums from graphite, oil pastels, coloring pencils, and of course acrylic. Now moving on to the development pages. For this page, I just did some thumbnail sketches with different styles and compositions. I also did colored versions of two of my sketches. I vaguely remember being so proud about this page because I really love it, but now looking back at it, it's alright. Moving on to the next development page. For the last two development pages, it's all about trying and learning how to use watercolor and especially acrylic paints, as well as learning how to make a galaxy background as that is the concept I wanted to do for my final piece. I legit wanted to make a galaxy themed landscape because that's all I can link to one of my artists as she uses a lot of colors to her artworks. And this is the final piece I ended up creating. I did this painting during a 5-hour trial exam in school, so I have to rush it but also make it look good. That 5-hour exam took a whole day, so I had to miss lessons during that school day as well. I remembered after the exam, I felt so relieved that I managed to paint this piece in 5 hours. So yeah, that's my final piece for this landscape project. And that's all I did for the landscape project. Now let's move on to one of my favorite topics, which is the animal project. Oh, the animal project, also known as the project I spent most of my time on. Starting off with the artist research page, the artist I chose is Hakubuni Komiti, which I found on Tumblr, thanks to my friend who recommended me to use Tumblr and Pinterest to look for alternative artists. Another note, this artist page took me 3 tries to lay it out to give to my teacher for the final grading. And now moving on to the next page. We went to the Natural History Museum, looked at some animals to draw, as well as taking some primary photos for references for observational studies in the future. I also asked my friend to take photos of me while I was drawing, so thank you for that. Now onto my observational pages. But firstly, I did this dragon oil pastel drawing on an A3 sugar paper. It doesn't look as good as the reference image, but this is my very first big oil pastel drawing and it actually looks okay except for the background. Now, most of my observational work consists of foxes, wolves, and dragons, as that's what I wanted to do for my development illustrations. As you can see, the first page mainly has a cool tone color scheme, while the other page has warm tone color schemes. Now moving on to my development pages. I have to say I'm really happy about all these illustrations on these pages, as all of it looks so nice and neat. Also, thanks to my teacher for giving me the idea of creating a story for my final piece, basing it off my illustrations. For the illustrations, I have 3 main art supplies that I use, which are coloring pencils, markers, and fine liners. In the end, I did end up creating a book for my final piece, which you'll see in a bit. But let me show you the original illustrations before it got edited into Krita. Ta-da! These are all the pages that ended up in the book, which has a total of 12 A4 illustrations. That also includes the front and back cover of the book. Now for my final piece. This is not the original printout of the book, as I couldn't find the original, but this will have to do. You guys can pause the video if you guys want to read it. The book isn't really that long, but I had fun memories while making it. And that's all the animal project. Now let's move on to the last topic, which is identity. And we actually had a lot of freedom on doing that project, so let's get to it. Now for the last and final project, which is the identity project. As you can see, I did an anime or a manga inspired theme for this project. I did Koyoharu Kotoge, which is the manga author of Demon Slayer. I was supposed to do Kohei Horikoshi, which is the author of My Hero Academia, but I ended up with Koyoharu Kotoge instead. Overall, I really like this page. Now moving on to my observational pages. I drew a lot of my brother and my mom for my observational work, as I need to draw from primary images to get them grades as well. A little advice I could give to you guys if you want to do GCSE Art and want to get good grades is that you have to use a lot of different media to show your work. And that's all the work from the first observational page. For this page, I just mostly did some studies and anatomy. As you can see, I painted hand gestures with acrylic paint, which is a big improvement. I also did a detailed coloring pencil portrait, which took me a week to finish. Just a quick reminder that I was doing this whole project during the lockdown, so technically we're really rushing everything. Now moving on to my development pages. And I'm also back on doing some anime style drawings. For my development, I created this sort of story I had ages ago from when I was 12. And it was held dear in my heart. Some of you that follow my Insta may have seen this character often on my post or story. My Insta is Milivani as usual, and you guys can check it in the bio. For the second development page, it was really just trial and error, as well as planning for my final piece, which kinda took a while to do, but in the end, I managed to figure it out. During this time, I was really trying to balance my studies as well as GCSE Art, as exams was literally around the corner, which was really stressful, so me and my friends decided a plan and actually stay in the art room during lunch breaks to finish our coursework. And here's the final piece, which took a week to finish. It is an A3 watercolor illustration of Mira, which is the character you can see in the screen right now. And the reason why it took long is because I'm not used on using watercolor for a big piece. That's why it took so long to finish. Overall, I really like it, and it's on my wall right now. And that's all of my GCSE projects that I had to do from year 9 to year 11. Since we're done with that, let's now move on to the exam portion of this video. For our key assessment test, we had to do 2 drawings, which consist of a development piece as well as an observational piece. Now, we only had 2 hours to do each drawing, which is unbelievable. So I decided to go for an A5 size to do my drawings at. The materials I used for the exam are graphite pencil, coloring pencils, fine liners, and markers. Also for the exam, we can do the sketch at home, which was a relief because it saved me a lot of time. And those are my exam artworks. Let's move on to what grades I got, just in case you guys want to see it. But I have to say, It's not the best grades. I'm saying it right now, so let's get on to it. So here's the grades I got. Just in case you guys get confused, I put up a photo of what's the grading system here in the UK. So let's get started. For science higher level, I got 2 sevens because I did combined. For maths higher, I got a 9. Art and design, I got a 9. German higher, I got a 7. For English language, I got a 5. English literature, I got a 6. Geography, I got a 6. And religious studies, I got a 5. As you can see, essay-based subjects are not my forte. I just couldn't get into it. So yeah, that's my grades. And that's the end of the video. I hope you guys like it. Please stay safe and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye!